worry about red pens or anything. Just fill in the blanks that you need. This is all review for our final. Good morning. You guys ready? Okay. Starting now with number 6. Thank you. You have 84 from yesterday, right? You got 84 yesterday, the pink one? Okay, perfect. Just making sure. All right, very first thing we want to do, even before we start our 7 steps, is what? Ayana, what do we need to do here first? Even before that. Darius, what do we need to do very first? Perfect. Draw a line through our equal sign. Great job. Okay? Step 1 in our 7 steps says we need to distribute wherever we see parentheses. Do you see parentheses?
Yeah.
I would agree with that. What's on the outside of my parentheses? -6. So we're going to take that -6 and we're going to add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Multiply. We're going to multiply by 1 and we're going to multiply by -7r. Okay? What is -6 times +1? -6, thank you, Ida. And what is -6 times -7? Positive 42. We've got an R on there, so we'll put an R as well. So what we did is we made whatever's inside the parentheses 6 times larger, and we flipped the sign. So my +1 becomes a -6. My -7r becomes a positive 42r. Because when we multiply by a negative, of course, we flip the sign, right? And my right side stays the same. There's no distributing to do, so we'll leave it just like that. This is going to get confusing. I've got a variable and a constant on the left, a variable and a constant on the right. What is next? We're going to minus what? -6. If we're following, if we're following our 7 steps, the first thing to do is to move your variable term to the left. So we're going to keep with that. How can I bring +7r to the left? -7r. -7r. What happens to my 7r's on the right? They cancel out. What is 42 minus 7? 35r. Great job. 35r. With me so far? Yeah? This is where it's going to get confusing. What do we do now? Add 6. We're going to take this -6. We're going to add it to both sides. +6, +6. What happens to my 6's on the left? They cancel. Now what happens to my 6's on the right? They cancel out. And if everything's canceled out here, we have nothing left, right? This is where I saw a lot of people go, oh, r is equal to 35. No, no, no. Like Ida just said, 6 minus 6 is 0. Okay, an equation that has 2 sides to it. We can't just leave one side blank. If there's no terms left, we have 0. Right? 0 is the number equivalent of nothing. So if we have nothing, we've got to have 0. Last but not least, how can I get r all by itself? Divide by 35. Even though there's a 0 there, we're going to treat it just like any other problem. My 35's go away. And what is 0 over anything equal to? 0. The only number that when plugged into this equation gives me a true statement is 0. Is that one solution, many solutions, or no solutions? One solution. You might think, oh, that's no solution because it's a 0. 0 is still a number. That is one solution. If we got something like 6 equals 0, that would be no solutions. It's a great question to go over. There was a lot of confusion on number 6 yesterday. Does that kind of make sense how we did that? If we just follow the process step by step, exactly how we learned how to do it, there may be a little bit of second guessing, especially when we cancel out all the 6's. But if we just follow how we're used to following it, we should be okay. We didn't do anything different there than what we're used to doing. All right? We don't need to turn these 6's into a 0 because that does nothing for my 35R. We had to keep our 0 here because it's the only thing left on the right-hand side. Over to number 10 on the back. Number 10. Again, there we go. We can see it now. Again, the first thing we need to do, this is another good one, is what? What's the first thing we need to do? Distribute. You see those parentheses? That is the first thing we do every single time. Am I distributing the 5n or the -5? The -5. It's right up there next to those parentheses. We're going to forget that 5n exists for a second. I'm going to distribute this -5 to my n and to my 8. Okay? What is -5 times n? -5n. What is -5 times +8? -40. Good. My right side stays the same. And now I'm going to bring back in this little 5n that we left out of our distribution. All right? So that's our first step, distribute. Now what can we do? This is different than what we talked about on number 6. We didn't have to do this step on number 6. But what can we do now? Before we plus 40 on both sides, I see I've got two n terms on the left. Combine like terms. Beautiful. What is 5n minus 5n? N? 0. They cancel out. If you have 5 of something and then you take 5 of those somethings away, you have nothing, right? And this is where, again, it's going to get a little confusing. -40 equals -39 minus n now. So how many variable terms do we have in this whole equation? Just one. It's right here. Okay, stay with me, guys. If we're following our steps, we want to bring this n over to the left. But that gives us an extra step. Instead, let's bring 39 over to the left. What's the inverse of -39? Plus 39. Plus 39. What is -40 plus 39? -1. Not just 1, but -1. Now, if you added n to both sides instead, here's how that would look. We add n, we add n. There's nothing to combine my n's with over here, so now I have n minus 40 equals -39. How can I get n all by itself from here? Plus 39? Plus 40. What's -39 plus 40? Close. 1. It's like 40 minus 39. That's just 1. Now over here, if I have -1 equals -n, how can I get n all by itself here? Divide not by n, but by -1. -1. So the negatives cancel out, getting n all by itself. And what's a -1 over a -1? +1. So either way, we get the same answer. N equals +1 or 1 equals n. It doesn't matter what side the variable's on. Typically, we like to have it on the left, but it doesn't really matter. Questions I could answer on 10? No? All right, last but not least, the fun stuff. Number 12. Step 1, is there any distributing to do? No. Step 2, are there any fractions to bust? Yes, there are. Step 2 is fraction bust or fraction break using the LCD. Now, here's where a lot of people got tripped up. Some of us remember how to find the LCD, which is great. But if we go back to our fraction breaking notes, what is step 1 of this process? Can someone read out step 1 for me? Thank you, Hope. Yeah, turn every term into a fraction. Put the whole numbers over 1. Are all my terms here in 12 fractions? No. What's not a fraction? Negative 3x. What can we put underneath that negative 3? A 1. Before we even figure out the LCD, we've got to do that first because we will forget to include that term if we don't. Now we'll take a look at our denominators. We've got 2, 3, 4, and 12. 2, 3, 4, and 12. Now here's like the elementary way for us to find the LCD, right? We write out multiples of each of these numbers. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, blah, blah, blah. So on and so on. 3, we've got 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. And then 12, we've just got 12, 24, 36. Right? We're just writing out the multiples. And what we're looking for is the lowest number that all 4 of these denominators have in common.
12.
Which is 12. Exactly. We've got a 12, a 12, a 12, and a 12. So yesterday in our booklet, some people saw lowest common denominator and just picked whatever the smallest denominator was, like 2. That's not what we're talking about. It's the lowest one they all have in common, the lowest multiple. Okay, now we need to find a way to get 12s as all 5 denominators. So I'm going to spread this out. 13 over 12 is good. We've already got a 12 on the bottom. We don't need to touch that one. If I've got 3 over 1x, what can I multiply 1 by to give me a 12 on the bottom? 12. Plus 2 over 3x. What can I multiply 3 by to give me 12 on the bottom? 4. So we'll multiply by 4 over 4. Okay, we're multiplying by a whole fraction, so that same number over that same number. Yeah, 4 over 4. What can I multiply 2 by to give me 12? 6. And what can I multiply 4 by to give me 12? 3. So we're going term by term, figuring out what is my denominator missing if I want that LCD of 12. Now I can see that I'm going to have a 12 on the bottom here, a 12 on the bottom there, 12 on the bottom there, 12, 12. So I can just get rid of all my denominators and focus only on what's across the top. 13 minus, what's 3 times 12? 36x plus what's 2 times 4? What is it? 8x. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18x. And 1 times 3 is just 3. So that's our fraction breaking process. Now we have an even playing field. All of my terms are whole numbers. I can get to solving like normal. In terms of our final, as long as you're confident in finding the LCD, you'll be okay. All right? Anyone see what we can do here now? Anything maybe we can combine? That's right. What can we combine that are like terms? 36 plus 8. Sorry, negative 36 plus 8. What would that give you? Negative 28. Right? 8 minus 36, 28. Now what? That's right. We got a minus 18x. We want to bring that to the left. We'll do the opposite by adding 18x. Gives me 13 minus 10x equals 3. Yep, then we subtract 13. going to move it up here. Negative 10x equals negative 10. What can I do now? Divide by negative 10. How many times does negative 10 go into negative 10? One time. Look at that. All that work just to get an answer of 1.